Hello, my name is Rob Keeley. I work at HCS Safety as a safety advisor, and for the next couple of minutes I'm going to go through and talk to you about our safety inspections. We'll be talking about the data that we've collected since 2020 on our inspection reports and have a look at some of the common trends that we've managed to pick out from that data to hopefully help you improve on some of your sites. So, our inspections then, how many inspections have we carried out since we started collecting this data? So since September 2020, we've done over 1,750 site inspections. This has been for over 90 different clients who have requested that we come to site and have a look around and score them accordingly. The average score that we have done on our site inspections is 87%. So that's not too bad. We would typically say that anything in the 90% and above is a good score. So it's a bit worrying that our average score is a little bit below that. The good news though is that since we've collected this data, we've had over 170 100% scores. So people that are 100% compliant. This is nearly 10% of the inspections that we do. So big pat on the back for those that are getting 100% on a regular basis. So when we break down some of this data, we can spot some common trends for areas that we may need to improve on. So there's some areas where we have some work to do. The main areas that we need to focus on to improve then is around risk assessments, method statements and permits. Also around working at height more safely. This links in quite well with scaffolding where we see some problems, and also for hazardous substances and COSH assessments. On the flip side, we have got some areas where we've done really well since we collected this data. So we've got a couple of areas where we score most highly. So well done for your traffic management, for site security, for manual handling and lifting operations. These are areas where we've scored particularly highly across all of our inspection reports. So to break down some of those areas that we're having a few issues with. First of all, we've got RAMs and permits. So risk assessments need to be suitable and sufficient. Okay, we need to try and avoid putting in generic control measures in our risk assessments, make them specific to site. The control measures we put in place should adequately reduce the level of risk. Okay, we need to make sure it's precise to what we are doing. We need to make sure our risk assessments are signed. We often go and look through folders and see that the signatures on the RAMS communication page doesn't always match up to those who are working on site on that day. We need to get people to sign that they agree and understand the risk assessments. With permits, we have hot works permits, permits to dig, confined space permits. We're doing a good job at opening them up, but we need to make sure that we close them out successfully at the end of the day. Make sure we get those permits closed down and the signatures obtained from the responsible and authorised persons. Next section then we've got is working at height. Okay, so we often see a few problems with working at height during our inspections. It's important that we use the right type of work equipment for the task that we are doing. Okay, so we want to make sure that if we need to go up a little bit higher for our job, we use a taller set of steps or a podium or a tower that's suitable for that job, rather than overreaching, overstretching, and then causing difficulties along the way. We need to monitor our workers to make sure that they are doing things properly, make sure that they're not, while our back is turned, standing at the top step of a step ladder or leaning it up against a wall in a riser just to try and get that work done. We need to make sure they're using it properly. We need to make sure our equipment is inspected regularly. Okay, so often we're seeing tags on our podiums and our step ladders that are out of date. Often we want to see it done every 7 days. Okay, so make sure that your inspection tags and your records in the office are signed and dated weekly. Finally, with our weekly checks, that's going to cover over to scaffolding. So the scaffolding has a statutory requirement to be inspected at least every 7 days. Okay, so we will be checking to make sure that is completed and signed off. Next, our section then is about hazardous substances and COSH. Okay, so with this, we often see that we've got hazardous products stored in incorrect locations. Fuel, petrol, diesel stored right next to flammable materials. It's something that we need to try and store better and have a bit more thinking time to get it in the right place. So store it in the correct locations in a storage container, outside for the flammables if we can, away from other flammable materials. We need to have COSH assessments in place for these products as well. A lot of the times we see the safety data sheets for substances, but we don't always have the corresponding COSH assessments in place. The law requires you to have COSH assessments. We must have them for all of our hazardous substances. When it comes to using machinery, where you might have a saw that produces quite a lot of dust when we're cutting through timber, we've got to make sure that we have suitable extraction fitted to those tools. If we're cutting bricks and we're using disc cutters, we should have water suppression to try and minimise the amount of dust produced in the first place. If we've got to resort to wearing masks and face coverings, well, our mask should be face fit tested, okay? We should make sure that that mask is suitable for the operatives who are wearing them. And those operatives must be clean shaven. They are not allowed to have any facial hair in the seal of their face masks. So there's a couple of tips then to try and help you improve and get those site inspection scores up a little bit higher. Moving on now to talking about our different types of site inspection templates. At the request of some of our clients, we've introduced a new template this year, okay, which is specifically designed for subcontractors. If they're working on a site for a principal contractor and we see some site-wide issues, we found it's going to be more fair to score separately on these inspections. So we've got a section for site-wide issues and subcontractor issues, and we've managed to break it down on our report so you're not penalised for maybe something that isn't your responsibility. We also have our normal standard general site inspection templates, which is suitable for all types of businesses and contractors, specifically for principal contractors. This is the one that you'll be most familiar with. Okay. That's about it from me. Okay, so thank you very much for listening. I hope this information's been helpful. When we have got our site inspections that are completed, you will receive a notification in your email inbox. You're available to view these online on SafetyNet, and you can also download them into a Word document to view at your leisure and send out in your emails. Thank you very much for listening. As I said, I hope this has been helpful. Thank you.